Meet the pharynx, a multitasking passageway that handles both food and air, kind of like a busy highway intersection. This shared tunnel forces our epiglottis to act like a frantic bouncer, slamming shut every time we swallow to stop choking.
Aha, Doodles.
Most animals keep breathing and eating separate, but human babies share a temporary shortcut that dries up by age 3. This design quirk is why our larynx sits above the trachea, making eating and breathing a precision act, like a game of airway Tetris. The epiglottis, a tiny flap, saves the day by covering the airway during meals, like a superhero guarding a secret passageway. But slip up, and that airway lockout sparks a cough, so violent it feels like your ribs are doing push-ups on concrete. Realistically, it's a biological gamble where our voice box dropped lower to sing, making us the only primates who can choke on their own words. We do this so we can belt out a badly tuned karaoke hit instead of just hooting. Our ancestors literally risked dinner to dethrone the Neanderthal baritone. So while a baby whale sleeps with its airway safely sealed, our adult humans chew and breathe through the same narrow hallway, risking a crumb-based emergency exit. That awkward compromise let us roar complex lyrics instead of just growling. But it did cost us a few dry heaving moments at breakfast. Unlike fish, our ancestors traded swimming ease for upright walking back in Africa, turning our flexible spinal curves into today's whole lot of lower back drama. Plus, that upright strut shrunk our birth canal, forcing human babies to be born with brains still 30% smaller than they need to be. Doodle: a cute, slightly squishy baby peeking out a tiny door, looking confused while holding a tiny brain like a balloon. Key: birth canal brain size. Emotion: playful surprise. SFX: soft squeak. Sure, our clever larynx lets us whisper secrets, but it sits low enough that a sneeze can turn lunch into a surprise trip to the ER. Meet the lumbar, the weakest link in our spinal chain, where around 80% of us will experience back pain at some point. Ouch. That compromise left the L5 vertebra squished between ribs and hips, often screaming louder than a laptop fan during a tax audit. That constant grind makes the L5 one joint the most common spot for back pain, rivaling how often people forget their passwords on Monday mornings. So it's basically a glorified tower of jelly donuts stacked by committee that forgot to check the blueprint. That upright shuffle also crammed our reward system, squeezing 3 wisdom teeth into a jaw built for a debonair, root-heavy diet. That jagged mismatch means roughly 35% of us need a dentist to gently pry them out before they crash the party like uninvited guests. Yet it costs folks a cool $170 million a year for these stubborn teeth, which is way more than fancy pizza parties cost. Over 5 million wisdom teeth are removed annually in the U.S., often to ease that crowded, pricey pain. Some folks even try to grow them back in labs, hoping for a futuristic backup battery, but nature just shrugs and moves on. That blind spot. It's a design flaw from our squid cousins who wired their nerves correctly on the outside first. Deep inside the back of your eyeball, the optic nerve needs an exit ramp to connect to your brain. The nerve bundles simply punch through the retinal tissue like a pencil through paper. This exit hole leaves a tiny retinal void, a permanent blind spot evolution forgot to patch despite our best software updates. So that blind spot sits right where about 1.2 million nerve fibers jam together, creating a literal black hole your brain cleverly fills in with background noise. That patch hits your blind spot, right where a central vein tries to squeeze through, creating a glitchy blind zone the size of a whole pizza slice. This leaky spot means we lose 1 million pixels, proving evolution is more like a handyman patch than a master architect. Even squids fixed this glitch, wiring their nerves neatly behind the retina so they never miss a single selfie shot. Unlike squids, our own optic nerve pokes through the retina to create a literal blind spot we can't even Photoshop away. This leftover reflex even tries to fluff non-existent fur, a glitch from when we were actual fuzzy mammals needing extra insulation against the cold. Here's the kicker. That shiver burns calories, so your body literally pays you to freeze with a tiny, useless fireworks show. That puffing trick backfired for us hairless apes, leaving just 3 million stubby follicles to guess if it's summer or snow. Doodle: cartoon human shivering in a tuxedo jacket while hamster wears a parka. Key: human hair follicle count. Emotion: playful concern. SFX: wind howl. and a single squeaky toy squee. That ancient wiring means your stress hormone cortisol floods your veins even when you're just stuck in traffic. Our ancestors needed strong jaws to crack nuts, but modern diets left us with zero room. So those third molars now crowd the lineup like a traffic jam on a tiny one-lane bridge. Think of it as your gut's tiny fire escape, a shelter for good bacteria waiting to repopulate after a bacterial wildfire. Then, scientists like Elie Metchnikoff discovered that our appendix is a safe house for good bacteria, kind of like a backup cloud for our gut. Exactly. And in 2009, scientists confirmed this tiny pouch holds a giant stash of friendly bugs, just like a sneaky emergency snack jammed in your pocket. That pouch feeds our gut microbes, which help us digest tough veggies our ancestors ate while hiking across the hot savanna. Humans evolved sweat glands that drip water like a personal sprinkler, letting us marathon while dogs just plop down like melted ice cream. This setup lets us chase prey for kilometers, turning our bodies into endurance beasts that can beat a horse in a long-distance foot race. That means we can cool down with a splash of sweat while a horse is basically a panicked marshmallow in a heat wave. That persistence hunting trick was so effective, our ancient friends actually chased antelope until they collapsed from pure exhaustion, not boredom. That ancient Athens runner didn't eat a sports drink. He likely survived on figs while his legs begged for mercy. So while a cheetah fades fast after 30 seconds, our hunter-gatherer ancestors could literally jog 20 miles under a blazing sun to catch dinner. That same sweat strategy works great on a hot run, until our overactive foot arches turn into flat tires by Friday. Our pelvis shape barely changed while our brains tripled, forcing a tight squeeze that no other mammal endures on delivery day. This evolutionary tug-of-war even sparked the obstetric dilemma theory, our body's awkward compromise between big brains and bipedal walking. So we squeezed out premature little potatoes, needing 9 more months of development that a chimp got for free inside the womb. So Dr. Barry Hall carefully explains that a baby's head is actually the biggest part, not the whole ball, making the squeeze a true head-first challenge. That mismatch forces doctors to sometimes perform a C-section, a move named after Caesar that turns birth from a yoga pose into a surgical shortcut. This tricky squeeze is medically known as the obstetric dilemma, our brain's big upgrade hitting a wall that still haunts about 12% of births today. So while your furry friends make their own, one tiny genetic typo here means you must grab a fruit or feel queasy by week 3. Humans lost the gene for making vitamin C, a broken switch called gullo that still works fine in your kitty and most mammals around us. Our inability to make vitamin C is due to a mutation in the gullo gene, shared by primates and guinea pigs, too. That genetic hiccup locked in roughly 40 million years ago, just as our tree-swinging cousins started trading oranges for endless mangoes. That missing gene means we can't make our own, so skipping fresh fruit basically shuts down our internal vitamins. It's like a phone with no charger. A single typo in our DNA, spellbook millions of years ago, broke the barcode, leaving us forever stuck on the fruit-only diet plan. That same energy surplus sparked a runaway brain explosion, blowing our skulls up to a massive 1,350 cubic centimeters. The real reason we can't sleep is that our light-sensitive cells are wired backwards, like a camera built from the inside out. Scary thought, but funny clue. That backward wiring creates a blind spot where the optic nerve exits, forcing the brain to digitally fill in the missing picture. Think of it as a buggy legacy code. Our retinas evolved for sun, not the 470 nanometer blue spike of your phone screen. So when that cool blue light hits, it screams sunny picnic time to a tiny cluster of cells called the iPRGCs, right when you need to chill. That signal hits a specific pigment called melanopsin, locking the daytime mode on way too hard for a sleepy Zoom call. That tiny SCN gets confused by our glowing blue phone screens, tricking us into thinking 10 p.m. is actually high noon. So while your brain panics over a low battery, your actual thumbs are already twiddling the medieval carpals inside your wrist. That same grip, once built for swinging trees, now turns your wrist into a crampy yoga pose for our thumbs when we doom scroll late at night. Our thumbs are also prone to triggering painful tendinitis, especially in gamers and texters, due to repetitive strain. Meanwhile, the thumb gets overworked while texting, turning 26 tiny bones into a clumsy octopus that forgets how to hold a phone. We don't mention the wrist because the thumb is stealing the show. Our thumbs are actually perfect for snapping apples and steering wagons, not swiping seconds into digital oblivion on millions of touchscreens. Those same thumbs evolved from gripping rough tree bark in the Miocene, not from texting alone. But that grip strength doesn't help much when our tailbones get stubbed by modern chairs, annoyingly useless leftovers from our swinging days. That same flexibility makes our shoulders pop out like loose bike chain links, a price we pay for hanging from branches. So this shallow socket lets your arm spin like a windshield wiper, a wild design choice that leaves your shoulder joint twice as likely to pop out as a hip. It is such a fragile hinge that your collarbone accounts for a huge chunk of the 300,000 break scene in ERs every single year. So that loose socket, great for throwing a baseball, totally forgot to ask how we get comfortable in a gym chair. That trade-off means our hips carry double the load of a four-legged friend, turning them into the original high-stress fitness equipment made for running away from lions. Our shoulders fuse into a solid anchor, locking them in place like a backpack strapped too tight for any sideways scramble. This trade-off means our shoulder socket is small, causing it to pop out like a weak button on a favorite shirt. But that loose fit is why big leagues pay millions for players who can spin their arms like a creaky grizzly bear door hinge. That same looseness lets us unleash a sneeze at 100 miles per hour, about the speed of a highway exit ramp. That spray covers 6 feet, making your face a tiny, chaotic sneezezilla that turns every old car ride into an instant fog machine. That sudden pressure surge can actually trigger a fainting spell, turning your inner ear into a glitchy gyroscope that spins your whole world upside down. Instead of skipping beats, the vagus nerve pulls a hard emergency brake on your heart rate, dropping it by 20% to power down the whole system. That sudden drop sends your blood rushing to your legs, making you feel like a buffering video that just lost its Wi-Fi signal. In less than a second, your brain's emergency backup generator, the medulla oblongata, floods your blood with adrenaline to wake you up. But guess what? That split-second lag lets the vagus nerve hit the brakes, just like pausing a movie to grab snacks before the next intense scene. Think of it like an old software patch that stopped our throat from choking, even if the update left our ribs slightly wobbly. This jury-rigged fix left our neutral spine straightening into a S-curve, adding about 5 extra pounds of leverage on your lower back each time you stand up. The lumbar spine's inward curve helps distribute the load, kind of like a built-in shock absorber for your lower back. That same breathing freedom leaves our ribs fragile enough to crack if you laugh too hard at a meme while exercising. And while we're at it, our kneecaps are just loose floating bones that click like loose change in your pocket when you run. Then came the farming revolution, locking those hips in a sedentary rust while we sat still for 6,000 years instead of running wild. Now our spine acts like a cracked S-curve, so when we slump at desks, it squeaks louder than a cheap office chair on tile.